أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين وأصحابه المنتجبين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بأبي عبد الله الحسين عليه الصلاة والسلام فإنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. It is most pertinent that we say something about the nature of life as a prelude into the aftermath of the martyrdom of Imam Hussein and the untold horrors that unfolded and came upon the household of the Blessed Prophet. Suffering are to be taken with dignity. When we suffer, it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's way of refining our souls. Ultimately, we return to Allah. There is nothing in our control. The greatest fear Hussein ibn Ali had was the loss of the ones that he lost. No man would want to lose a son like Ali Akbar in their own lifetime. No man would want to see a helpless child of 6 months die in front of him, and then to see the little baby beheaded in his own hands. No one wants to live to see the day when the pillar of his strength like Abbas is slain in front of him and cut into pieces. Hussein Salamullah alayhi did not want any of this, as no man ought to want. But as these events unfolded, and as Allah tried him and tested him, he went through it in a very dignified way, knowing full well, O Allah, it is all yours. You can take it all away. Knowing full well, O Allah, I came into this world empty-handed, and I shall leave empty-handed. The only thing that I will attain and achieve is my nearness and proximity to you. The only thing I gain is a share of you within my own soul, is your light. Having said this, the most difficult part of his whole sacrifice was not the dear ones that he lost, but it was those that he was leaving behind. That was the most difficult part of it all. We find him saying to Zainab, Zainab, do not tear the arteries of my heart through your cries. I can't bear this. He says to his older daughter Sakina, Sakina, do not weep like this in front of me. She says, oh Father, how may I not weep when my brother has been killed? My uncles have been taken away from me, and I see my father surrounded by death. How can I not weep, O Father? He says, O Sakina, after I have gone, your tears will know no end. The greatest part of this event of Karbala for Hussein was not those that he lost, but those that he leaves behind. We find him entering into the Euphrates to find some water for those thirsty little children. We find again that there is a shout and a cry, loot his tents, he has fallen. He no longer has life left in him. He says, "O Shimmer, call your man to withdraw from the tent. I am still alive." What tradition is this, that I still live and you plunder my tents? Come and kill me first. Have you ever wondered why Hussein was standing again and again? He had no life left in him. There was nothing left. They would say to him, "Surrender to death. Your breaths are constricted. You are wounded. There is nothing left in you. Why do you stand again and again?" We find this description. He is struck on his blessed head. He falls. He struggles and stands again. A spear is embedded in his thigh. He refuses to fall. They are baffled. Why does he not submit to death? Do you know why he wasn't submitting to death? Because he knew that once he is put to death, then the tents will be looted, and his children will be dealt with brutally. And that is why Hussein refused to die. A dignified man. We are told in the Maqtal that Hussein came back to the tents on several occasions. And outside the tent he would cry out, "La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah." So that Zainab and the women and the children would feel that Hussein is still alive. This was the test for Hussein. When Hussein is martyred, as I will recount in a little while, now you find the state of the women who have lost every one of their protectors. They are in the hands of the enemy. They have no control. They know not what the future will bring. At that point then, for them to rely on Allah in the dignified manner in which they did, shows to us that these are our ultimate symbols. These are the symbols for humanity, that we need to leave everything to Allah and face whatever unfolds before us in a very dignified way, and place our trust in Allah amidst sheer hopelessness. Hussein falls from his steed. Zuljana circles Hussein, warding off the blows of the circling enemies. When Zuljana finds that he will not be able to save his master, we read in the Maqtal, Zuljana places his mane upon the wounds of Hussein, so that his neck begins to drip of Hussein's blood. Then turns to the tents and begins to gallop and neigh. The sound of Zuljana fills the air. Zainab calls out, "O Sakina, this is the neighing of your father's steed. Take news." Sakina emerges from the tent. She looks at Zuljana. In a state of shock, she says, "O Zuljana, where is my father? Where have you left him? Why is your saddle turned? Why are the reins broken? Why does your neck drip of his blood? O Zuljana, did he find some water? Or was he butchered upon the burning thirst? There is a cry, قَدْ قُتِلَ الْحُسَيْنِ. The women are baffled and frightened. They withdraw within the tents. The body of Hussein is plundered. Someone takes his shield, another his sword. Someone takes his garment, another his belt. When his ring is being extracted, it does not come off, so his blessed finger is separated from his hand. Once the body of Hussein is plundered, Umar ibn Sa'd gives instructions. Trample the body of this outlaw. 4-man volunteer. And they trample the body of Hussein beneath the hooves of their horses. When they go to take their reward from Ibn Ziyad, they said, "O Ibn Ziyad, we trampled his body to an extent that every bone was crushed in his chest. Had you placed your hand upon his chest, it would have been as soft as dough. Hussein's head is dispatched with kholi to Kufa, to Ibn Ziyad." The soldiers turn their attention towards the tents. Like beasts, they rush into the tents. The Maqtal says, 5 little children were killed by being trampled beneath the feet of the raging soldiers. They looted everything. Zainab ran. Somebody subdued her and struck her upon the back with the knot of his spear. She falls to the ground unconscious. She regains herself, and she sees Sakina of Hussein ahead of her. She goes to Sakina, takes her head and begins to caress her face. Sakina, the older daughter of Hussein, opens her eyes. She says, "O aunt, do you have something by which I may cover my head and my face?" She says, "O child, your aunt is as deprived of a veil as you are. Let us go back to the tent and see what has come of them." They go back and the women are frightened and crying. There are little bodies scattered within the tents. Zainul Abidin is upon his face. He says, "O aunt, so brutally did they plunder, and I could not do anything about it." As they are lamenting, Umar ibn Sa'd approaches. "Come out of your tents and prepare for captivity." Zainab says, "Nay, Ibn Sa'd." He said, "Zainab, I do not talk at this point to the daughter of Ali or the sister of Hussein. I talk to a captive. I command you to come out, or I will set alight the tents." Zainab says, "If you want us to come out, then give us our face coverings." Ibn Sa'd says, "No, you have no more dignity than the captives of Rome on this day." Zainab refuses to come out. Ibn Sa'd orders, "Torch the tents." Hamid ibn Muslim says that as the tents burned, I saw women and children running from the tents, as if a rosary was broken and its bead were being scattered upon the dust. I saw them stumbling and falling upon dead bodies, walking over rocks and thorns. Their feet were bleeding. I found a young child whose garments had caught fire. I went near her. I saw her cheeks had turned black through slapping. Her face was covered in blood. When I went near to her, she said, "Oh man, for the sake of Allah, do not chastise me further." I said, "I come as a friend. I wish to put out the fire that has caught your garment." She looked at me. She said, "Do you know the path of Najaf?" I said, "What cause do you have with the path of Najaf?" "My grandfather is buried there. I want to go there and lament and say to him, my father is stripped of his garments. Beheaded he lies upon the burning dust." Zainab comes out, tries to gather the women and the children. She calls for them and gathers them. She says to Kulthum, "Find as many as you can." The two sisters are looking, and they find two little children in each other's embrace, as if they were asleep. Zainab tries to awaken them, only to find that they have both died beneath the hooves of horses. Nothing prepared her for that grief. She gathered them all, but she could not find Sakina of Hussein, the little daughter Sakina. Maybe she faced towards where the bodies were lying. Maybe she called out, "Oh Akbar, has your little sister come to you?" There is no reply. Maybe she looks towards the Alqama and she says, "Oh Abbas, has your little Sakina come to you?" The river is silent, baffled. She is Hussein's trust that I have. "Oh Allah," she pleads, "let this child not have died." Bewildered is she, looking for her little Sakina. From afar, she sees a little child in the embrace of a headless body. She draws near. She touches Sakina's shoulder. Sakina awakens. "O aunt, do not separate me from the chest of my father." "O child, how do you know this is your father? There is no head to this body." She says, "O aunt, when Shimmer slapped my face, when my ornaments were removed forcibly, when my garment caught fire, bewildered, I ran in this direction. And I remembered the warmth of the embrace of my father. And I cried, 'Oh Father, why have you abandoned your child?' I called, and this direction talked to me and said to me, 'Oh child, come to me.' Zainab took little Sakina with her. She gathers the children and the women around the fire of a burning tent. They are crying and lamenting. They are saying to Zainab, 'This is what happened to me. This is how we were whipped upon our backs.' Zainab consoles them, begins to put them to sleep. Umar ibn Sa'd hears the children have died, and thirst kills them. He calls the wife of Hur and says to her, 'Take them water.' When the wife of Hur comes, we hear from the Dhakirin, Zainab and Kulthum look at her and they say, may Allah give you a grand reward for losing your husband. She says, he has attained honor dying for Hussein. But I have no words by which to console you on the death of your brother. What brings you here, good maid, at this time when we are in this state as destitutes? I bring you some water. Zainab hears about water and her eyes tear at the thought of the thirst of her brother Hussein. How may I consume this water? Zainab turns to little Ruqayya, the daughter of Hussein. She says, oh child, come and drink some water. Her first reaction is, has my uncle come back from the Euphrates? Has he brought back water? Zainab gives her some water. She causes them to sleep. We hear from the Dhakirin in their own poetic impressions that Zainab says to Kulthum, I shall guard the tents. You rest for a while. Zainab guards the tent and she sees a horseman approaching near the tents. She looks at him and she says, oh man, I beseech you for the sake of Allah, do not approach us. He approaches. My children have just gone to sleep. Come back in the morning. He draws near. We have nothing. Everything has been taken away. Do not come near us. The horseman refuses to listen. As he comes closer, in a rage, she takes the spear, a broken spear, and she grabs hold of the reins of the horse. Do you not know whose daughter I am? The Dhakirin recount that the horseman removes his face veil, and there she sees her father. As she sees her father, she falls at his feet. Oh Father, your sons have been butchered, and your daughter's belongings have been plundered. Matam Hussein. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.